Hi, everyone. And you won't know this when this drops, but it is New Year's Day. So happy New Year to everyone. Welcome back to Eternal Evolution of Self YouTube channel. This is the Spiritually Speaking series. And with me today, I have Stephen Hairfield, American monk, Jessica Kirby, one of my dear friends and medium, and Ashley Rainsbarger, who is my newer friend. And she is the Weird Woman's Body and Soul chief weirdo. So there you go. That's all of us today. And I'm Dee.
Love it.
And today we are going to be talking about intuition. So here we are, and let's jump right in.
Okay.
Awesome.
Who's first?
Do we have a question to ponder?
Do we have a comment to ponder? What do you think, Stephen?
Well, intuition is a simple saying. Every human on the planet has it, yet very, very few people use it because it makes no logical sense. What I mean by that is intuition always comes, at least to me, out of left field. It comes from nowhere, and all of a sudden it's there. And because it makes no logical sense, most people tend to discount, deny, question, use logic to understand it, and it'll never work. The only reason the field of the sciences says that intuition, psychic ability is nonsense is because it makes no logical sense. Of course it doesn't. It's not based in logic. It's based on a level of awareness that every one of us have and can use, and yet very few people do. I want to, as an example, I love heavy traffic because I know what the heck every other car is going to do. Almost. If I'm driving down the highway at 70 miles an hour or 110, whatever I'm doing, I'm paying attention to other cars because I want to know what they're going to do. If I sense they're going to come over and I'm driving 110, I'm automatically going to start putting my brakes on. So intuition can do a lot of things for people when they learn to trust it, because it always comes from nowhere. It just comes from no reason. It's just present. And intuition is always in the present moment. And it's always going to let you know what's coming if you learn to pay attention. We think intuition only applies to working with other people, interacting with other people. No, it's involved in 100% of life. If we learn to pay attention to it, we would get in less difficulty than we actually do. Here's the funny thing. Logic is very limited. It's only limited to 3 dimensions. Intuition is not. Intuition is from an infinite perspective, I think is the word I want to use. And it can go into the future. It can go years down the road. And you may not know what it means today. I have a friend and student in Copenhagen, Denmark, Jakob Lafarve, and he's learned to use the intuitive sense in his business. And here's the interesting thing. He went from what you could say is basically homeless. He was living on a 1938 wooden boat named Amanda that had, bedroom, galley. It had all the comforts of home, except it's on a boat. Now think about something. This is in Denmark. Once he started using his intuitive nature, the guy today still has a gorgeous boat, but he has his own place. He's in real estate, and I would be shocked if he didn't become a millionaire this year.
Mm.
And that's all transpired over the last 10 years. He's gone from living on a boat to the level of success that he's involved in today. Why? Because he's been using that ultra sensitive nature to be able to sense things. And he says that life has now more meaning than it used to. He was going to commit suicide when he and I first met. And today, he wouldn't even consider it. Why? We all have that intuitive nature, all of us. But the 4 people on the screen that all of you see right now use it. And it can be such a magnificent tool for life. That's my opening. Now I can go anywhere the heck you want.
I agree with
Well,
you.
that was a
And
pretty good one.
congratulations to him. That's amazing. I'm so happy for him.
No,
Absolutely.
you know that D. He just started listening to his
Yeah.
own self.
Yeah.
When it comes to a decision or a choice, intuition will always guide you to what is the appropriate thing. 100% of the time, intuition is not going to lie to you. It can't. It has no idea what that is. Logic can, because it's based only on 3-dimensional reality. Intuitive nature is not limited to that.
I agree with
Okay.
everything Stephen is saying. And I also think, like, when I think of intuition, and especially people who are like newer at exploring intuition and listening and allowing that to guide us, sometimes we come in with like the notion that, well, it's going to guide us towards sunshine and rainbows and it's going to be awesome and everything is going to be great. And I think one of the things about intuition is understanding that it's guiding you towards what you need and what you need to experience in order to get to whatever space you're trying to get to. So just knowing, like, this may have been, like, for me, like 2023 felt really hard, and it was exactly what I needed to go through to know what I didn't want. So that I could create a better 24. And so I think it's just important to remember that, like, it doesn't always feel good, and we got to get better at feeling into the intuition and still trusting it, whether or not it leads you to something that later on you would think, well, maybe that wasn't the best thing for me, but was it what got you to the next thing?
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
If you don't know where intuition is coming from, and you won't ever, I've been operating with the intuitive sense all my life, just for humor, but to give a little bit of background, my dad wanted to have me exorcised by a Catholic priest. Because one day I was headed off to school, and I said, "Dad, be careful on the ladder today and don't fall." I get home from school, and yeah, he was on a ladder and he fell off the damn ladder, and it was my fault.
Oh,
You tried to warn him.
No, I didn't try. I did, but I was only 13.
Well, yeah.
I was only 13 at the time. And my
Oh,
mom
wow.
convinced him that was not the path to go down. Then after I became a monk, I became aware of what awareness is. And it changed everything and sharpened it, because I began simply paying attention to it. Even if it makes no sense, my suggestion is, if you get something and it makes no sense, at least do yourself a favor. Just observe, just watch. Watch how things unfold, and you'll be able to understand what your intuition is telling you. Look, it doesn't communicate with you logically. It's a right brain function. If I had to pick a left or a right side of the brain, left brain, without logic, left brain function, you couldn't walk through a forest filled with trees, because you would taste the bark of every single tree if you didn't have logic. So logic helps you see the open space between the trees. Intuition will tell you what's behind the damn trees, whether there's a Bigfoot, a bear, an alien, President Obama, or whoever. Had to do it. Had to do it.
Yeah, I don't mind. Some people might, but I don't. That was funny.
But intuition, I should say, talks with you metaphorically, not logically. Metaphor, it's like dreams. When you get dreams and you attempt to figure them out the next day, you're always using logic. Won't work, because logic and metaphor just don't mix. It's like attempting to get oil and water to blend perfectly is not going to happen. So simply learn to keep your logic out of it. If you're in traffic and your intuition says the car next to you is coming over, trust it. Allow room and just watch.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked at what happens. Totally.
Yeah.
Because no reason it said this person's coming over. Logic says baloney. No, they're not. And sure as heck, here they come. What happened? You just didn't listen to what your own soul told you was coming. It's a simple idea.
It
You know,
is.
speaking of simple, as a monk, I learned that life is not easy, but it can be simple. Never easy. But even when it's difficult, it still can be simple. And intuition will guide you through difficult times. It's always talking to us 100% of the time. And if we listened 100% of the time, which I'm about 97% of the time, well, I think 97 sounds a little arrogant, but I'm going to stay with that because I listen to it. If I'm driving, and I've had this happen, ladies, way more than you can shake a stick at. I'm going in one direction to a shopping mall. And as I'm traveling, my intuition says turn right. So the next street, I'll turn right, and then it'll tell me to turn left. And then I'll go down a few blocks, and it'll tell me to turn left again, put me right back on the same street I was on. And I look to my left, and there's an accident. So in other words, my intuition kept me out of the accident because I listened. And when I look back at the last time this happened, when I look back at the timing, I would have been right in the middle of that thing. But because I listened to my intuition, I was nowhere even near it. So following logic is fine, but remember, it's limiting. Intuition is not. It's not bound by three-dimensional reality. It sees past that. Your logic, 100% of the time, can't. Anyway, I'm going to shut my mouth.
Yeah, that's happened. That's happened to me too. Often I, have a way that I go to work every day, and just every once in a while, it's like, maybe I should take the interstate rather than the highway today. And so I'll do it. I don't question it. I just do it.
Good.
Yep.
It will protect. I can honestly sit here and say I'm a combat veteran, Vietnam. And I'm alive today because of intuition. And God, I can remember when the guys used to say, this dude is weird, but listen to him. Because we'd be going along and I would say, no, let's go this way. And they would, at first they would go, no, man, come on, that's out of our way. No, we're going this way. And they would follow me. And we would come up on an ambush that was set for us from a direction they weren't expecting. And after a while, it got around base camp that this dude is scary, but if he tells you, follow it. And that's before I became a monk. So intuition can do a lot of things for you. I mean, I read for people every day, and most of them would tell you I am scary as hell. I'm not sure what that means, but whatever.
Yeah. Why do you think that
and,
is? Why do you think people are fearful of intuition? for someone who
Well,
uses it?
you come to see somebody like me. You ask me a question, and Ashley knows I'm going to respond. You may not like what you hear, but I've had people tell me that, damn, if they follow what I suggest, it works like a charm. If they doubt it, they get their face beat in. Okay. But I've had people
That
tell
was
me that,
me.
yeah, I know, D, I wasn't going to say a word,
Uh,
but you're there now. So that's good. You got there. You just
I
had to
got
take
there.
your path.
Yep.
Yeah. You just had to take your path to do it. And you're only at the tip of the iceberg. So don't you dare stop, ma'am. And
I'm
I
not
mean that
stopping.
from my heart. I hope you get the website done so that contact information so that people can see it and you can post it. You can put it everywhere. I was going to post this with using the Zoom address, and then my intuition said, Stephen, don't do that, because there's a lot of people that know me, and there may have been a gazillion other people from all over the world. And I'm talking about Philippines, China, Japan, Australia, you name it, that know who I am. You know, when I was leaving India, my teachers told me that by the time I reached 55, I would be known throughout the world. Well, here's the funny thing. I spent 18 years going, there ain't no way I'm going to do that. And then one day I woke up and went, yeah, okay. And now I'm known throughout the world for saying crazy, insane things that people don't want to hear. So if you
Yeah.
don't want to know, don't ask
Don't
me.
ask.
But if you
Right.
want to know, ask me. But here's one promise I do make, that if I see something difficulty coming for you, I'm going to offer you a path, and I'm well known for that. And if you follow that path, you'll get through the forest. If you don't, you're going to get the lesson full tilt. No question, hands down,
Yeah.
because it's all about stubborn people learning how to make life simple.
Who's
What can I say?
stubborn?
I don't know anybody like that. Yeah, horse
certainly
crap.
not me. I mean,
Yeah, not at all,
certainly not
Jess.
me.
Yeah, Jess. No resistance in you. I like that.
Yeah,
I didn't want to hear
no.
that, dude. But they don't say it.
Oh my
Pardon me
gosh.
for 1 second. Pardon me for 1 second. Just my grandbaby just pulled up. I just want to say hi. There you go. Okay, thank you.
You're
Sorry.
fine. Family first always.
Always.
So,
No, that's it.
Stephen, you actually talked to me in my dream the other night.
You know what? I'm going to say something that's funny. Well, not really. I just understand the extent of all of this. I have clients in Australia, Denmark. Again, I just can go on and on, that say that they can ask me a question in their head, and they tell me within minutes they can hear me, and they
Oh,
would
I'm going
tell
to
you
practice
that
that more.
and anybody would tell you that it sounds just like how I would say it. Here's the funny thing. I'm not aware of the specific person, but I have a sense that I'm being asked something. And here's the funny thing. I'm not even sure what it is. But all of a sudden, I start focusing on a topic or subject, and lo and behold, it has everything to do with what they asked. And here's the other insane thing. It doesn't even matter whether I'm awake or I'm asleep. And they would tell you. It sounds just like I would word it.
Yeah. It's true.
That's
Because
cool.
I was dreaming and I was like, and I wouldn't say that it was a lucid dream, but here's what I will say. I was dreaming this, I had this dream about this very popular podcaster, and she shares all this incredible information about universal beings, extraterrestrials and things like that. And she's really big into that. And I dreamed that she strangled herself. And
Oh
and
my
I was
gosh.
like, why would she do that? Like she puts on this event every year now. She's a successful podcaster. She's a beautiful woman. Why would she do that? And in my ear, I hear you, Stephen, go, D, we always dream in metaphors. What does this really mean? And I was like, I know exactly what this means. This was a message straight to me that I need to do what I'm supposed to do, step into my power, trust myself, trust my intuition, trust where I'm going, this path that I'm on, or I'm going to be strangling myself and I'm not going to make it where I'm supposed to go.
Well, by the way, there you are. Listen, metaphorically, when I get a dream that somebody is strangling themselves, that tells me that they're cutting themselves off, that they're not fully expressing their full ability. And my first hit, when you said your dream in relationship to her, that's what it said, that she could be greater than she is, which tells me this: I don't know the woman, that maybe her ego is getting a little bit too involved in what she's doing, which means she's strangling her own self by not allowing herself to be totally
Okay.
fluid with it. Does that make sense?
I know she has a lot of emotions around it because she actually says some stuff about that in certain ones of her videos that she does. So I don't know if that's what you mean by that, or
I
because I
do.
know
I do.
she's very emotional about it. And I get it because, like, sometimes you just want to reach out and shake people and just tell them to wake the fuck up, but you can't. And people wake up when they're supposed
No,
to wake up, or when they allow themselves to,
exactly.
or you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow, you guys just
Sorry,
switched
dropped my
places.
phone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how you switch places.
Yeah,
I just
sorry.
I just
Dropped my
saw you
phone.
shift places, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I need I need to attempt to do that. Put myself in that chair instead of this one. Now that'd be trippy.
That would be interesting. I would love to see that.
Actually, as a monk, I've seen more than that, but yeah. Imagine looking at the same monk in two places at one time, 30 yards
Oh
apart.
my gosh.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what? You gotta be kidding me. It's like,
Oh
whoa,
my.
yes.
But stuff
There are
happens
more
like
on.
that all the time, Stephen, right? Stuff like that happens all the
Yes.
time. So why do we find it so fantastical? Because I've been listening to a lot of this stuff, and that's one of the questions I have, because I believe it. The little girl in me is like, hell yeah, this is how it is, how it's always been, how it's supposed to be. And then my adult logical mind goes, is this really true? So why do we do that? Why do we believe it but not allow ourselves to fully believe it? Why do we think it's so fantastical when it's just really normal, actually?
That's not
I,
all that difficult. You keep disappearing on your camera, just so you know, D.
Only to you, I'm
Um,
still
It
here.
looks normal for me.
well, no, yeah, see, there she goes again.
So where did
No,
I go?
it's not that difficult. I'm not going to really get into it unless I'm asked. I've seen what masters in the Far East can do, and it's just mind-boggling at first. It's trippy when you see it. And the object, and when they do it, is to blow your logic out the back door, because there's no logical reason for that to happen. Now I'm going to seem to go in a little bit of a different direction, but I'll come back. In the book of Genesis, not going religious on people, God makes this statement, supposedly: now you are just like me. What? I am just like you? What?
Right.
And then in a later verse in the same chapter, it says, you have dominion over all things. It doesn't say you have dominion over all things except this, except that, or whatever. It doesn't say that. It says all things. Here's the key. And what I learned as a monk. You have to have dominion over yourself first. There's an old adage that says absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's a trap. And here's why I say that. If you cannot wield absolute power absolutely, you can't have it.
Right.
In the Nag Hammadi, which is an ancient text, it says in the Gospel of Thomas, I have quite the education in ancient texts, by the way. In the Gospel of Thomas, it says, when you make the two into one, you can say, mountain, move from here to there, and it will be given you. That's a trick question. Because if you want to move a mountain, so to speak, where are you going to put it? Is the first thing. And if you're going to move the mountain for your own convenience, that means you're going to put it in somebody else's way. To corrupt absolute power, that's what you would do. But a person that has absolute power would never consider moving a mountain because they don't want to affect anyone else. One of my teachers told me a long time ago that if a person with absolute power decided to freeze all the oceans of the world, they themselves would become frozen. Well, that doesn't sound exciting to me.
No.
If you had absolute power, here's the funny thing. The odds are you wouldn't use it because there would be no need to use it. Because absolute power will not override another human. You can't. You see, we all have the opportunity to wield absolute power. We do. It's there. Let's say, D, that you are this thing that we call God, except its name happens to be D. Exactly, D May. I guess it's better than D April or D June.
My dad wanted to name me March April, actually, because he thought he was funny.
Well, I agree with him. But you are this thing that we call the divine. And you wanted your creation, which is all of humanity, to be exactly like you. And by the way, ladies, every ancient text tell us that we are just like the idea of God. And I said idea because we created God in our image instead of it creating us in its image, which is where we backfired. But you're this thing we call God, and you wanted your creation to be just like you. That would mean you would have to have your creation to discover it. So that would mean you would have to hide it. Where would you hide it? And where would you put it? It has a simple answer. You ready?
I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. You would make it so obvious that logic would not believe it. And then you would put it in plain sight, knowing logic would have a hard time accepting it. It's you.
Yeah.
It's you and I already.
Yeah.
One day I was walking along and one of my teachers looked at me, Lobsang, and he said, Stephen, what is it that you seek? My response was, I want to be like Christ, like Buddha. I'd like to change the world. And he laughed. And I looked at him, being an American, going, what the heck is that? And he looked at me and just simply said this, Stephen, as long as you seek something, it means that you do not have it.
Right.
But the moment you stop seeking it, it will find you. So you see, how can you find, hear my wording, who you already are? That's not even possible. But what you can do is accept it. That's the trick. That's the only hurdle to get your logic to let it go. It's not that your logic wants to stop you. No. Logic deals with a three-dimensional reality. The idea of the divine doesn't. It's not limited to that. So we all limit ourselves to being physically human. I'm going to share a story with you, if I may.
Absolutely.
We have a lake here in the area called Virginia Lake, and I was out walking around it one day. And as I was walking, I noticed there was a woman pushing a wheelchair with about a 7-year-old girl sitting in the wheelchair. And as I was approaching them, she was looking at me and just smiling. And I thought, what a little cutie. And as I got right in front of her, a few feet away, she looked at me and said, I know you. And I knelt down. And I said, who am I? And all she said was, you're him. I put out both of my hands and I said, put your hands in mine. And she did. And I looked at her and said, why are you in this chair? And she said, I have spinal bifida. I've had over 20 surgeries on my back. And I said, that's lovely, honey, but why are you in this chair? And she said, excuse me, I was told I can't walk. And I just looked at her and said, yeah, you can. Stand. And I glanced up at her mom, who was freaking out. And the little girl stood. And I went, okay, are you okay? And she said, yes. And her little eyeballs were just really huge. And I said, okay, I'm going to back up slowly. Just step with me. She did. And I backed up maybe 20 feet. And she walked with me for 20 feet.
Wow.
All I can say to you is I was approaching the chair. What my intuition says, this can be done. And I looked at her mom, who was floored. And all I said was, walk with her. And as I turned and started walking away, Mom said, who are you? I just said, it makes no difference. Walk with your daughter. And I walked quite a ways, and I looked back, and they were still walking. What happened? It was simple. In that moment, her belief changed. That was the only thing that happened. I gave her belief in herself somehow. And it started when she stood and she saw that she could. So you see, absolute power is a funny thing. You'll know when to use it. It has to be free of ego. I've had so many people tell me, prove it. If I were to go and attempt to prove it, it won't work. Why? Because to prove it, my logic is involved. I was sitting in Decatur, Illinois, and I'd just given a seminar. You can tell I get a little emotional when I tell that story.
It's an amazing story.
No, it's just something that happened. You say it's amazing. That's your logic. To me, that's normal. That's what humans can do. We're sitting in this restaurant in Decatur, Illinois. And one of the guys said, you know, you're talking about all this. I'd like to see something. And I looked at him and said, well, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. And we're sitting there talking, and I had a glass of wine sitting on the table. And we're talking about stuff. And all of a sudden, I looked at the expression on their faces, and I knew what was happening. I didn't even have to look. And one of the guys, Mark, pointed at my wine, and I glanced down, and there was smoke coming out of the wine. And I went, well, that's weird. And I looked back at him, and the other one said, you did that. And I went, no, I don't know where the hell that came from. I lifted up the wine, blew the smoke out, had a sip, and set the glass down, and he quit smoking. Did I do that? No. If I said, yes, I did that, that would be my ego. And absolute power doesn't work there. You see, your ego is your ally, not your enemy. But it is something to master if you ever want to use the intuitive nature of human. You have to know the ego is there, and it is going to tempt you into things. And the object is use the temptation as a lesson. Like right now, I'm being a smart ass. I'm going to say that. My temptation is to get up and run around naked. Well, okay. What an eye opener that'd be. Okay. I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't do it anyway. But the point is, that's just my ego barking. And I just humorously ask it to just sit down and thank it. The ego is the tempter. So you see, the difficulty with absolute power is to allow temptation to enter in. That can't happen. It can't. Because if temptation enters into absolute power, you and the world is in trouble. Ask Adolf Hitler. Look what happened to him. Look what's happening to the leadership of the entire world. The same thing. Their egos have entered. Okay, that's their downfall. So you see, even the three of you wield absolute power and you don't even know it. Learn to pay attention. If you think it, it's going to happen. I won't even do that. I have a hum between my ears. I ain't thinking. That's dangerous. That's scary stuff. But I will be an observer, yes, impartial, unattached, and just allow life to unfold, and I'm just going to move with it. And absolute power and my intuitive nature is going to do just that. Anyway, enough of me.
But it's so interesting. We love listening.
Well, but I'm no different than you, other than I'm in male form and you're in female form. You know,
a bit more experience as well.
I like to play. I
play.
like to play with myself in life. I'm my own experiment. I know how to use energy, and I will use it. Energy can't be seen until it's made manifest. You don't mess with manifest reality. You mess with the energy that makes manifest reality, like the little girl in the wheelchair. She just had a belief that wasn't in her best interest, but it's what she believed. And here I am, a stranger that overrode that belief just by following what my intuition was telling me that was stopping her.
But she recognized you. She said, you're him. So was that soul recognition, or what exactly was that? Yes, soul recognition.
Yes, or energy recognition. You know, we all encounter divine people, and we know it when we meet them.
Yeah.
How we know it is just defies explanation. You could be standing next to the greatest master in India, and he may look like a scumbag, or she, filthy, whatever. But they're not going to stand there and tell you, I am a master. If anybody ever says to me, I'm a master in this, that, or the other, I'm already know they're ego-based, and that's not true. It isn't, because a master is never going to say that. They don't have to. They let their own dynamics speak for themselves. That's why you, I, and any of us are attracted to certain people. There is a reason for that attraction. Go for it. Find out what or who that is. Don't deny it. I've learned more from homeless people than I have people in the business world, and I've been there too. Life is our teacher. If we're going to progress, we just allow what's happening around us to be our educator. In the Eastern world, there's an old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. That actually has two meanings. It could be somebody like me. It could be like D. May, Ashley, Jessica. It could be any one of you. That's one of the meanings. The other one is the most significant that nobody looks at. And it's this: when you are ready, your own teacher will come to you. When you're ready to listen to your own divine self, which is there, no matter what you think, it will begin teaching you. Here's the hard part. Once that begins, that's a 24/7 job, because your teacher never shuts up, and your learning never stops. When that state was finally made by me, that's when my teacher said, Stephen, it's time for you to return to your part of the world. It was time for me to come back to the States, because at least that part I had mastered. It's simple being a monk in a monastery, but it is not so simple being a monk in day-to-day life. And that's where the teacher-student relationship really evolves. I'm still mastering me after all these years, because I always surprise myself.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. But one thing I will say, I do listen to my divine nature constantly. And it's always teaching me at any interaction I have at any time with an inanimate object, situation, thing, or animated people. I love stepping right in the middle of conflict and bringing peace to it. I adore that, because that's who we are. All of you are Christed. You are. Christianity is waiting for Christ to return. Duh. That ain't going to happen. What the ancient texts mean is when we all reach that level of being, because the door is open, especially right now. And this year, 2024, is going to do just that. 2024 numerologically is an 8. And 8 numerologically means a challenging year. You're going to be challenged. The universe wants to know who you are, not what you are. It could care less about that. It wants to know who. Who are you really? Every day this year, that's the question for you to each address. You ladies on this with me, or anybody that hears it, that's your challenge. Are you selfish? Are you self-centered? Are you only interested in you? Or are you interested in life? Are you interested in divine being, divine knowledge, divine self? That's your options this year. Choose wisely. You can go for money all you want, but ultimately money is going to be useless anyway. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Rely on somebody else that knows how to use energy? Sure. That'll work really well for you. As in not. Anyway, I'm flapping too much.
Not at all. I love listening.
That's amazing. I love that. Ashley, thoughts? You've been kind of quiet.
Hmm. I want to hear Stephen do an episode on 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 making money and serving other people and how we can combine the two. That's what I want to hear
First
Stephen
off,
talk about.
first off, don't, the first thing you put out there, Ashley, is making money.
Mm.
You know, when I left the corporate world in 1987, I made $225,000 that year. Think about that. That was in 1987. That's a boatload of money. It's a
That's
boatload
the
of
year I
money
was
today.
born.
Okay, well, whoa. makes makes me feel like a kid.
Was pregnant in 1987.
I was doing well, but I was not happy, and I stepped away. When I told my company that I was resigning, they didn't believe me. When I went in 2 weeks later for my final paycheck, they didn't have it ready yet. And they looked at me and said, "We didn't believe you." Well, I don't care what you believed and didn't believe. I'm done. If you put money first, that's a mistake. Put helping people first, and the money will come. D is starting to learn that. When you lift people, and by the way, when I left the corporate world, I never know month in or month out what my income is going to be. And here's the funny thing, I don't care. I'm happy and I'm at peace with life. And I adore humans, male or female. Well, especially ladies, but.
We are pretty awesome.
No, actually you are. In more ways than you could ever even imagine. I could talk a blue streak on that one. Divine feminine is exerting herself. And masculine energy is fighting it tooth and nail. And I could walk you all the way through that because that's about as unlimited as you can get. This is a cycle that happens. Manifesting is a walk in the park. We all do it constantly, except nobody's paying attention to what they're creating.
Yeah.
You can have all the money in the world you want, Ashley, if you take on all the people in the world that you choose. The universe will take care of you. It has for me ever since 1987. And look how long ago that is. You say it was the year you were born. Here we are now in 2024.
36 years.
Yes, ma'am. For 36 years, I have never known what my income was going to be, ever. Daily, weekly, monthly. But the universe has always provided. You can see kind of my house. Yeah, I've written a few books. They're not bestsellers, but they've helped. You see, I just see me as a messenger. And as long as the message gets out there, people will find me. And they do. I have a client in Canada that I just encountered a couple months ago. When she sent a message to me, her message literally said, "I've been looking for you for years. I found you by accident." Really? She now knows it wasn't an accident.
Right.
And you can see, I know a little bit. I don't know everything. I would never claim that. But I will say this. None of you can ask me a question that you will not get a response to. Why? Because I know my mind is as infinite as the divine itself. And if I need to draw from something, it'll give the information to me, and it always does. Mark 13 in the Bible, Christ himself says, "Do not fear for what you are to say or to do, for in that moment it will be given you." That is true. I was going to getting ready to do a seminar in London years ago. And before I went on, I was talking with a person backstage, and they said, "You know what you're going to talk about?" And I went, yeah, the power of thought. And he goes, yeah, I know that's the title, but do you know what you're going to say? I said, no. He goes, man, you're going on in 5 minutes and you have no idea what you're going to say. No. And he goes, oh, this is going to be great.
Mhm. You're
And I
like,
got a
yeah, right,
standing
it is.
ovation. I got a standing
Yep,
ovation.
sure is.
I got a standing ovation after I was done.
Yeah.
Why? I walked out on that stage for a 2-hour seminar, not one piece of paper in my hand, no notes, no nothing. And I just began. And they were blown away. But here's the funny thing. If you ever come to see me speak, and I still do it, I like to have people walking down the aisles with microphones, which is things that universities and public speaking say never do that. But you can ask me a question live and I will respond. And that's what made that whole
Very cool.
seminar, because people were asking questions.
Mhm.
I like to engage my audience. And the only way you can do that is by talking with them. I talk with people, not at them. That's the difference. So Ashley, put money second. Look, I get it. We live in a material world. You have to pay for a house, you have to pay for power, you have to pay for food, gas, clothes, whatever. But you see, I've never looked at it as I have to do that. I don't. The world can accept me or not. If they don't, oops. If they do, awesome. If you're going to have faith, first have faith in yourself, because you are a divine representation of divine source. That's who you are, not what you are. You are your hair. That's what. You are your body. That's what. You are your bank account. That's what. You are your house. That's all what. But who drives it? You do. Every request you have is always met 100% of the time. If you're attempting to do something, if you're attempting to do something and you're afraid of doing it, you will meet fear head on. But that's your teacher.
Yeah.
Be the student of your own fear.
Yep, I'm working on that this week, actually.
And work on it this minute.
Okay.
Ashley, when you put money first, and in a way, we're coming from lack. I don't want anything. Want is another word for I don't have or I'm lacking. All you have to do is just see that you have it. No thought. Don't think about how much income you want to make. Focus on having stacks of money in your bank. Okay? That's important, because those stacks of money have to be in your bank, not out there orbiting around somewhere. When I first started working with Jakob, he was talking with me one day. He said, Stephen, I've got all these people checks just floating around out there, but none of them are in my bank. And I said, Jakob, did you ever see the income in your bank? And he went, no. I said, well, see it in your bank. 2 days later, they all showed up in his bank.
That's
Isn't
awesome.
that weird? No, that's not weird.
It's not weird. It's amazing. It's exactly how it should
No,
be.
no, that's actually ordinary, D. May. That's how it is, not how it
Right.
should be. Should means not, lack, don't have. Horse crap. One of the words that me as a teacher, whatever, I do not care when people say I try. Are you shitting me? Excuse my language. I can look at you and to all three of you and say, try and stand up for me. What are you going to do?
Stand up.
You're either going to sit, okay, but you didn't try.
Right.
You just did it.
Right.
I didn't say to that little girl in the wheelchair that day, try and stand up. I just said to her, stand, honey. And she did. I didn't put try in there. Try means struggle. No. You either do or you do not. Yeah, I know. People attribute that to Yoda, but actually Buddha said it almost 5,000 years ago. He's the one that said that. It either is or it is not, but never try. Try means if somebody looks at you and says, I'll try and make it, how often do they make it?
Rarely.
Exactly. That's an excuse that people hide behind. So anytime you use that word, I will try and do it, you're kidding yourself. Don't bullshit yourself. If you're going to be the student and teacher, then make the teacher work for the student, which is you. Don't try. Just do. I don't try to read for people. I just do it. I have no idea what I'm going to say to a person when they come in. Hell, I've had people walk into my office and go, I'm told you have a message for me. They don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is. But here's the funny thing. The second it's delivered, they go, that's it. And here's the funny thing. I know it too.
Right.
I had no idea it was coming. I had no idea it was going to be. I have no idea where my income is going to come from. But it is always there because, Ashley, I have faith in me. And if you don't have faith in yourself, how can you have faith and trust in something that you cannot see, that you don't even know if it's really there? You see, I don't question whether it's there. I know it is. And it knows that I know that it is. So maybe because of that, it's a little more responsive to me. Because if I'm going to trust the divine, then by God, I'm going to trust it with every ounce of me. Even though I'm about to do something I've never done, it's always there. And it's always guiding because I'm always listening. And it knows that. So whatever it is, we'll call it D May. D, thanks for being in my life. You're my divine source. There you go. It's my guide.
Yeah.
And if it says to jump, you know what? I'm going to jump. It doesn't matter where the heck I'm going to land or if I land. And I have to fall 500 feet. It wanted me to jump. Well, I did. Because I know it'll catch me. And it has ever since 1967 when I entered a combat zone before I became a monk. After becoming a monk, I understood it and how and why. So Ashley, be your teacher and be your students. Your money will be there for you when you trust you. And by the way, Ashley, get over your limitation thing. You're the one that thinks you're limited because you don't have, because you're struggling. No, where you're struggling is with yourself. You are
I agree, and I know that, so I just need to get back to practicing what I know.
No, you can't go back to anything, but you can go forward into something.
Right.
Like going back into a bad relationship's not brilliant. And people do it. Okay. Always go forward. You know, I think God's pretty smart. Why? Because from what I can tell, your eyes are on the front of your head. So you can see where you're going, not where you've been. Quick story.
I don't mean to be rude. I have a hard stop. I gotta get off here and get to an appointment. But I just want to say that this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. If you have 1 minute, this will take me 1 minute, I promise. Okay. I used to focus a lot on my past. One day, one of my teachers said, "Stephen, walk around backward until I tell you to stop." I became known as the backward monk because for days I was going everywhere, looking over my shoulder, walking backward. And one day, Lob Sang, the first day, late, Lob Sang said, "I see you smiling." And I said, "Yeah, I'm enjoying this." And he said, "How come?" I said, "I'm realizing how much effort it's taking me to look back, that when I look forward, there's no effort in that." And he said, "Good, you can stop when you want." So I did it for a couple of more days, up the stairs, down the stairs, going out to the field, walked backward. And that's how I became known as the backward monk. And then I stopped because I realized just how much effort it takes. And it takes no effort to look forward as the loving, optimistic person that you actually are, Ashley.
You're
Do that.
amazing, Ashley.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You see, we see that, you don't.
Yeah.
See it for
I do
yourself.
sometimes, and sometimes I don't.
Anytime you look in the mirror, you thank what you see,
Mm.
because what you see is the fingerprint of your divine being.
Yeah.
And that's where the impact of life comes.
And it's
Is
beautiful,
to that.
Ashley.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Enjoy the day.
Thank you. Mwah. Bye.
Have a great day, Ashley.
You too. Bye.
I love her. Look, got all me
I
all
love
emotional
you.
again.
I love humanity, even in their
Oh.
foolishness.
Yeah.
All people are wonderful if they can just see that.
Yeah.
The day we see that, and we're going to, about 2 years, we're going to make it through 2024.
Yeah,
you've heard me.
2026 seems to be the big year date that I keep hearing. That's so
Yep.
interesting to me.
This is an 8-year, which means it's a challenging year. Next year is a 9-year, which means a year of release. And 2026 is a year of new direction, numerologically speaking, because you're going 8, 9, 1. Ones are always new directions. 9s are about letting go. And this year, we're going to find out everything that individually and collectively that is no longer serving us. If you look now, that's what's been going on. We're attempting to keep things working that no longer serve the human race.
Yes.
Because everybody thinks money is what serves the human race. Sorry. I mean, a perfect example of that is when is the last time you've seen an honest politician?
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing about that. That now is becoming blatantly obvious that they're deceptive.
Oh.
They can't hide their own deception anymore. That's part of what's going on to get humanity to see the lie. What we have is a conflict between illusion and the truth. Illusion has been winning. Even if you heard Ashley, money first, that's the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
No, people first. That little girl in the wheelchair that day, it was her first.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I knew in that moment. This is about this little darling child. That's all I knew. And the only thing that happened was her belief changed. That was it. I didn't do anything except show her what she could believe.
Yeah.
Which nobody else would do. And I hope the little girl is still walking. I'm sure she is. If everybody else stays the hell out of her way.
Right.
Because the only thing that changed was her belief. D. May, if you believe what you're doing in your podcast is going to work,
Yes.
it will work. Because you believe in what you're doing. You are becoming a messenger. Whether people hear the message, that's not for you to decide.
Right.
If I'm talking to an audience of 5,000 people and I can reach one person, I did my job, because that was the only one I was supposed to reach. If I reached an audience of all 5,000, I think I would probably disappear, because that would be phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
But that's what I'm after. Anyway, enjoyed this.
Love it. Me too. Jess, any final thoughts, questions?
Oh, geez. I could listen to you forever, Stephen.
I'm here, and
Oh, I've enjoyed
I'll
it so
talk.
much.
I'll talk with you on the side. My website is www.hairfield. That's HAIRF as in Frank IELD.com. My contact information is on there. So if you call me Jess,
Awesome.
I will know who you are. Just tell me that you're Jessica Kirby, and I will be more than happy and honored to talk with you on the side. And that's from my heart to you.
Why, thank you. I appreciate it so much. That's awesome.
Dee's had conversations with me.
Yeah.
And
Don't
she
ask
knows
him a
I'm pretty
question if you
nutty.
don't want the answer.
Exactly. Exactly.
Noted.
I will do that, but I'll respond to you from a consciousness point of view or from a material point of view, whichever. Anyway, ladies, thank you.
That's what I tell people when I channel their loved ones is, I may tell you some things you don't really want to hear, but it is what you need to hear.
You know
so
what?
I understand that.
I'm going to be sarcastically funny, and I know you'll get this. I love talking to dead people because I know dead people aren't dead. They're just they're just on a different frequency. That's all. And all you got to do is tune into that frequency, and you'll hear more than you ever want to know. I can't stand going into hospitals because everybody wants me to phone home because they know I can hear them. They know I know they're there. I was sitting in my living room one day and watching TV, and I've got a bay window into the backyard. And all of a sudden, this Shoshone, I remember it, 3 feathers hanging down on the side of his head. And he walked through the front, came on the front porch, walked into the house, and I'm sitting there looking at him. And he's looking at me, and it's like he knows I can see him because he's grinning.
Yeah.
And as he walks through the living room, his eyes never left mine. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, okay. And as he gets to the bay window on the other side of the living room, he looks back at me and smiles and nods. He walks right out the damn window. And I'm going, yeah, okay. I'm giving up fresh air.
That's funny. Thanks for the shortcut.
But it's like, okay.
Right.
But that's what logic can't handle. Okay. I don't live logically. So,
yeah.
Ladies, I appreciate it. I enjoyed this today. And Dee, anytime that you would like to do this, just let me know.
I
And
will. Thank
Jessica,
you.
it was great.
Dee, wasn't there a question from someone?
Oh yeah, one quick question, which I
that...
think I already know the answer to, especially now based on your story you told. But one more question from a person in my group is Bonnie wants to know how much longer she's going to be in pain. When will her pain stop?
Where's the pain?
It's mainly her back.
Lower, upper?
Lower.
Okay. What's your name? Bonnie? Okay. Bonnie, this is for you. If you would really like to get rid of the pain in your lower back, instead of seeking emotional support and validation outside of you, you don't need emotional support nor validation from any source outside of you. You must learn to validate what you're feeling and accept what you're feeling and appreciate what you're feeling. Stop relying on other people. And by the way, as a side note, pardon my subtlety, get rid of these people that are around you that make you struggle and fight and are constantly rejecting you and making you want to prove yourself to them. That's not serving you. Lower back is an indicator from a monk's perspective of lack of emotional support. That's your biggest thing. When you learn to embrace yourself, Your back will be just fine. And work with that for a while. And if it doesn't, I'll put my hands on you because you don't deserve that. And by the way, get over your insecurity about not liking you, whatever that means. How'd that sound, D-May? You
That's
know
a
her, I
big
don't.
one for a lot of us is insecurities in ourselves.
Yeah.
Look, you know what, everybody, if you don't embrace yourself, who the hell else is going to do that?
Yeah.
Nobody. And if you
Yeah.
don't embrace
Right.
yourself, that means you're telling God it made a mistake. Excuse me a second. When it's my turn to meet that thing face to face, should that ever happen, I'm not going to sit there and look at it and go, you blew it with me, dude. I did
Right.
not like me at all. And God's going to look at me and go, that's not my fault, bonehead. That's yours. Okay. It gave me, as it gave
Love it.
you, as it gave you Jessica, and as it gave you D-May.
Yeah.
You are the representation that you chose to represent your own divine self. Now, you can't accept that. Okay, you got a problem. It doesn't. But if you talk with Bonnie about what I said, or if she hears this, it'll make sense to her. You know her. I don't. But I think everything I said made sense. Well, made sense to my intuition, not my logic, but what the heck? I'm
Yeah.
going to go with the intuitive side. All right, ladies.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'll put all your
have a
information in the
wonderful day.
box below so people can get a hold of you if they want to.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Next time you want to do this,
Thank
just let me
you.
know. Thanks, Jessica. It's nice to meet you. I love your smile, by the way.
Isn't
You
she
too.
awesome?
Oh, thank you.
It's refreshing. All right. Happy New Year.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
New
Have
Year,
a great one.
Stephen.
Bye, guys. Happy New Year.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.
Leave yet, Jess. All right, so I'm going to close this out. Thank you, everyone, for
Hello.
thank you, everyone, for listening. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can get this out to everyone who needs to hear it today. There were some valuable lessons today. Thank you so much again. Happy New Year. I hope 2024 just showers you with everything amazing because you sure do deserve it. As always, I love you all, and we'll see you on the next one.